The facts of this case are bizarre. So let me explain. Back in 1861, there were two fathers, Mr. Tweddle and Mr. Guy. Mr. Guy's daughter was going to marry a man named William Tweddle. Now, to sweeten the deal, both fathers, Mr. Guy and Mr. Tweddle, made a written agreement. Basically, they agreed to pay a sum of money to the soon-to-be groom, William Tweddle. The agreement clearly stated that the money was to benefit William. Both fathers signed it. Everyone was happy. William and the rest of the world were led to believe that once the marriage went through, William would receive the money. But then Mr. Guy died. His executor, a man named Mr. Atkinson, refused to pay William the promised sum. And this is where things get messy. William Tweddle, the groom-to-be, took Mr. Atkinson to court. He argued that the contract was made specifically for his benefit. He was the intended recipient. Both fathers agreed in writing to pay him. Everyone expected that he would receive the money once he married. So, from a fairness perspective, it seems obviously correct that he should be able to enforce the contract. What do you think? Should William succeed? Let me know in the comments. Well, the case went all the way up to the House of Lords, the highest court in the United Kingdom at the time. And the decision they handed down had significant consequences. The court ruled that William could not enforce the contract. Why? Because of something called the doctrine of privity of contract. This doctrine establishes that only those who are parties to a contract can sue or be sued upon it. In other words, you can only enforce a contract if you're a party to it. You cannot enforce a contract simply because it is to your benefit. In this case, the court said that William was not a party to the agreement between the two fathers. He did not give any consideration to support the promise. Therefore, he had no legal right to enforce the agreement, even though the contract expressly mentioned him and was made for his advantage. The law was clear. Only parties to a contract can enforce it. So William lost the case. This decision might seem disappointing, but it's important to remember that the law is not always fair or perfect. Sometimes it just has to be followed. This case illustrates that point perfectly. Now, you might be wondering why the law is like this. Why only parties? Why not allow someone to enforce a contract if it is to their benefit, especially if the contract clearly intends to benefit them? Well, there are good reasons for it. Firstly, the law needs to protect people who aren't parties to a contract. Imagine if anyone could demand a benefit simply by saying that a contract was made for their benefit. There would be chaos. Secondly, allowing non-parties to sue over benefits received under a contract could open up a floodgate of litigation. Think of all the potential complications. These are the reasons why the doctrine of privity exists. It maintains order and stability in contractual relationships. After this case, the law gradually shifted. In 1999, the UK Parliament passed the Contracts Rights of Third Parties Act. This act carves out exceptions to the doctrine of privity. Now, in certain situations, a third party can enforce benefits under a contract. But that's a topic for another video. So let's take a step back and appreciate what this case did. It laid the foundation for the doctrine of privity of contract in English law. This doctrine stood as a cornerstone for decades, influencing how contracts were formed and enforced. While the rigidity of the decision might seem harsh in this particular case, it served as a building block for a more comprehensive legal system. The case of Tweddle versus Atkinson reminds us that law is not just about individual cases. It's about creating a framework that governs how individuals interact. Sometimes that means making tough calls, even if it leaves a few people disappointed. If you found this explanation of Tweddle versus Atkinson helpful, please consider liking the video and subscribing for more. Your support helps us create more content. Also, if you want to watch another classic case explained, click here. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.